There are a lot of complicated things in this world. It's easy to get caught up in the ever-expanding, interconnected web of meaning that ensnares us all. You lose your mind when tugging on the edges of every string you stumble upon in a desperate attempt to unravel the knot just manages to get everything more entangled than when you began your efforts. You know there must be simpler things in life, like, like, a dot. Yeah, that's nice. And everyone knows that 2 points define a line, so you can connect the dots with a line stretching onto infinity, always flat, always constant. What pleasure you can find in the stability of a long, flat line, devoid of meaning outside of its mathematical purity. Or you could draw 3 dots, because 3 dots defines a plane, and a plane is like a line except more three-dimensional. Yes, a nice, long, flat plane, sure in its direction as it breaches the horizon of infinity, perfect and incorruptible. Or you could draw more dots and connect them with lots of lines and make lots of different kinds of pretty shapes, like rhombuses and parallelograms and stop. Some of these shapes have historical and or cultural significance, and you don't want to get into that symbolism and significant stuff and find your way back into the dense, untraversable, contradictory forest of meaning. Let's go back to the dot. Well, is it a dot or is it a circle? Or both? Because if it's a circle, then that is like a series of infinite dots, all the same distance away from a different dot. Can you have a dot that is one dot, but also infinite dots? Because then you could dot out all of the dots that make up the dot, 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 dot. But how could you forget that dot doesn't just mean a thing, but it's also a verb? So then you've got to pull out your dictionary to make sure you account for all the extra meaning that could corrupt your simple dot. Okay, here. Dot, verb, to mark with small spot or spots. That's okay, because a spot is like a dot, so the verb really isn't that different from the noun, but then you spot a whole new way of writing dot based off of its sound. Not only that, but there are more meanings for dot, and they're right there written down so you can account for them. A music dot is a symbol that adds half the value to a note, and a dot in Morse code is the shorter of the two signals. In Old English, a dot with 2 T's meant the head of a boil, which itself came from the Dutch word dot meaning a knot. And you can't forget about the fact that dot also used to mean a dowry, which you hope would be more than dot. But then you close the dictionary and open Google instead, because if you're really going to account for all of these different meanings, that's probably where you're going to find them. D-O-T. You couldn't have known this beforehand, but you've accidentally unleashed the whirlwind world of acronyms. DOT stands for Department of Transportation, and Directly Observed Treatment, and Damage Over Time, and Deed of Trust, and Dutch Open Telescope, and in science, it means diffuse optical tomography. But a dot in science could also mean a dot as in the dot blot technique, or a dot as in a Lewis dot structure, which could symbolize any thousands of molecules. There are also dot graphs and dot plots. Then all of a sudden you remember that dots are also a kind of candy, and Dippin' Dots are a weird spacey sort of ice cream, and then there's a dot ball in cricket, which isn't even a kind of ball. Dot is also short for Dorchester, a neighborhood in Boston. If you add a T, it's T-Dot, which is short for Toronto, not to mention the fact that dots can be people too. Dot is a name, the 13,132nd most popular name, in fact. There are an expected 623 people named Dot alive today, and they all have lives and personalities and go about their day creating and analyzing endless streams of meaning that interact with each other in indecipherable ways. And you can't forget that Dot is a nickname for Dottie, which is a nickname for Dorothy. There are an expected 499,034 people alive today with the name Dorothy, and any of them could be called Dot, at least by someone. And they all have lives and personalities and people they know and like and hate, and they're all going about their day doing and thinking things all the time, even right now, this very moment, and this one, all of them, all 499,034. Which is a lot less people than live in T-Dot, but 4 or 5 times the number of people who live in the neighborhood of Dot outside of Boston, 91,982 or 134,000, depending on how you draw the lines, which are just infinite dots, or 2 dots connected together, or 1 dot really stretched out, or 1 dot who lost their way. What happened to our dot? Where is it? What is it?